What's up, guys? I want to do a quick, I always start saying they're quick, but we know this is going to be 15 minutes. A tutorial and a slight overview of the new Vaperz Cloud VCST RTA. It is the next thing after the VCMT. And after using it for a while, I'm not surprised that they stopped producing the 30 millimeter VCMT. They still support it, so if you have one and you're having trouble with it, you can still call up their customer service. They'll still help you out. But I don't believe that they're making the 30 millimeter anymore because this thing came out. So real quick, let's just look at some of the features of the RTA before I show you kind of the intricacies of building and wicking this thing. Even though it is a hell of a lot easier than the VCMT, it does have a few tricks to it that will make your life just a lot easier and kind of save you some of the hassle of learning as you go. So firstly, the packaging. It is not the standard Vaperz Cloud carbon fiber and gold packaging. The person who designed this was really thinking the right thing when they did it. It looks awesome. It even has a barcode on it. I've never seen a Vaperz Cloud product with a barcode on it, but when you open it up, the VCST is there. This has been built on. I've built on this one before. Pretty much the first day I got it. This is what you're going to see. The VCST, the chimney has the VCST in the Vaperz Cloud font on it. And then you're also going to see two little lock symbols to the bottom left of each of the VCST. We'll talk about what those are. Then when you open it up, there are three things inside of here. The first thing is your spare glass with a vape band, support HR 2058 with Vaperz Cloud on it. Inside the glass is going to be an extra set of grub screws, clear O-rings, and a set of black O-rings. So pretty much spare everything you need inside of here. And then the cool thing is they got rid of that stupid blue screwdriver that everyone always uses, and they actually gave you a drill bit this time. Ooh, can it focus on that drill bit? There you go. So it gave you a drill bit with the correct Allen key on the other end. Pluses and minus, it's really cool. This is actually useful. The blue screwdriver is not useful whatsoever. No one uses them. It's, you know, it's a joke. The minus is you gotta have a screwdriver that works with that. Because don't put that on your drill. You're just going to strip those grub screws out. The only thing that I have at the moment is this monster. You know, sure, I can go out and buy one, but cheap. So yeah, that's it. Let's look at the deck of this, because there's a few super cool features on the deck that I haven't seen in another RTA before, or even another tank. There's some really cool stuff happening down here. So we'll go down and take a look at that. This is what you're going to see when you open it up and you're ready to start building. Let's first talk about the obvious stuff here. The VCST logo is on it. And then if we look around here, you can see the unlock symbol. Underneath each of the air holes, you're going to have a small brown marker, or gray actually. Yeah, it's like a small blackish gray marker. All you have to do is line up the unlock loop, not the square lock itself, but that umbrella loop. Line up the end of that to that small marker and just give it a twist and it comes right out. Be careful when you do that though, because that is what's holding on the airflow, right? So this ring can come right off. The nice thing though with the VCST is that you have two positions, on, and then it can gradually turn to close and it stops. And that's it. It's not a free floating ring like the VCMT, which will just spin forever. This one will lock into place. So it's closed, or you can twist it until it opens up. The deck itself is closer to a Glacier 2 deck in that it is a 4-hole 2-post system. The holes, unlike the Glacier 2, the holes in the VCST are elongated. They're more elliptical, so you can put fatter gauges in there. I wouldn't if I were you, to be honest. We'll talk about the build I'm going to put in, and it's a little different from my normal build and why we have to do that. But best feature, flat grub screws to kind of go along with that, so you know you don't have to hit up Giovanni for flat grub screws anymore. Yeah, putting it back on is just as easy as taking it off. You have these female notches to the left and the right, or the top or the bottom. That lines up with the male notches underneath each post right here. Put it on and twist it. What happens when you do that is that's also where you get to open up or close the wicks off to the juice. All right, so if you take a look right underneath here, that's your juice flow. As you twist and close it, you also close the juice flow off, keep going, and you'll open it and close it back up. Super easy stuff. And since the chimney is one piece, it's not two pieces, you don't have to worry about if your glass fits or not. Also, filling it up, the deck, the build deck, is completely separated. The only time that it comes into contact is right here. The only time it comes into contact with the juice, that is right here through these tiny little holes. So getting it to leak is actually a talent. I haven't really had too many problems with it once I understood one simple fact, and we'll get into that when we actually build it. When the chuff pops out of it, because it is a full bore chuff, you're going to see this hole on the inside there. So that hole right there is one of two places that you can fill in with juice. You can just stick your dropper in there and fill it up. Of course, we're going to talk about that in a second too. So let's get down to building it. And let me de-juice my hands. Building it is pretty damn easy. Do it just like you would the VCMT or any RDA, really. I mean, it's an RTA, so any build that you can put on the Glacier 2, you can put on here, in terms of resistance, that is. You don't want to go and put a straight up tank with a pre-built coil on some devices. This one you can pretty much put it on any device, provided that the resistance, vape safety, we know it, okay. Normally I would be building a 8 to 9 wrap around a 3mm 24 gauge for this, for the RTAs. But this one's a little unique. I'm going to be building a 6 or 7 wrap around a 2.5. And the reason I'm going so small in the diameter is that inside of here there is a secondary ring right here that will take your diameter from this when you first put it over, and then it goes and closes down just a little bit more. So you need to build your coils a little smaller. The first build I put on this was a 9 wrap 24 gauge around 3 mils, and it just didn't fit. They contacted the side walls. So we're going to build it a little smaller, and I'll show you one more trick that's going to come in handy when you're building on this. All right, so the first tip is kink the leg. When you're building on the VCST, you want to get your coil relatively close to those, to the airflow here. So you can see what I've done here on this guy. Well, there we go. Kink the leg. It hasn't been primed or anything like that. What I mean by kink the leg is when you're wrapping, one goes down, one leg goes down, one leg comes towards you, right? So you end up with like that, one down, one pointed towards you. And then I just have these kind of hook pliers, take it and then bend it in the same direction. So then you end up with a little kink in it. What that's going to do, normally when you would put it in a standard RTA, you put it so coil is up, if you can see that. Right, so the coil is facing upwards, and that gives you more room to put cotton underneath of it, or for airflow, especially on like a 30 mil RDA, like the full-size Temple or a Z2 or a Fat Buddha. It lets you pack the cotton underneath of it. On this, though, you're going to put the coil facing downwards, and that's going to put it low, close to the posts, and close to the airflow. And I'm going to throw this in there, and yeah, we'll keep it moving. One tip I do, though, I always treat my clippers with a little bit of juice before I build, so that way when I snip my coils, the legs end up sticking on my clippers and they don't go flying all over the room and into one of my cat's eyeballs. All right, so now that you have it built, before I really do anything else, because I need to make sure that the chimney is going to fit over it. I'm not going to take the time to prime it and pinch it and get them glowing correctly if that's not going to work around the barrel. So let's see. Yep, perfectly. And you can always take the chuff off and get a look down there and make sure that nothing's touching the sidewall. All right, so get it glowing correctly, pinch them up, whatever you gotta do, get it glowing, and then we'll get into what makes wicking this a little interesting. All right, so we have it glowing right, even at the same time, and we know it fits in the barrel. So we're gonna go ahead and cut up our wicks, same exact way we did on the VCMT. It's the way I always do it anyway. And that is cutting 2 strips and then notching the top strip, or the top of that strip. Keep in mind that if you're following along and you're doing this build that I'm doing, and you're used to doing a build around a larger diameter than a 2.5 mil, adjust accordingly on how much cotton you cut. Normally, I would use an entire cotton pad on a 3.5, but I'm really just cut it in thirds. So you have this if you need cleanup or whatever. Then just notch this top portion. That gives you a good taper to feed through the coil once you roll it up, and then you're left with these 2 triangles to fit into the air holes to make sure that you are not leaking. And if you do leak, this kind of stops it from running down and getting inside your battery cases. You may find that you need to shave a little bit of this off. What I mean by shaving it off is either lick your fingertips. If you're building for yourself, if you're doing this at a shop, don't lick your fingertips. But just kind of wiggle your fingertips back and forth and get them kind of grippy, and then just shave it just a little bit, and you'll take a little bit off. That obviously will definitely work with cotton bacon because it's in loose form. This is Shiseido because it's better. Word. All right. So that's what it looks like. It's not pretty, but it's going to be. Now trim these down. You want to trim them down pretty short, but here's what you don't want to happen. These airflow barrels right here, juice will leak. Like, you're definitely going to leak if you start juicing up the cotton here and it starts touching the barrels, because that cotton is going to run, or the juice that's in the cotton is going to run straight down the barrel and right out the side, and it's going to leak in mass. So that's number one. Just curve it over, and if you need to, just start pulling a little cotton off of that as well to thin it down, so that way when it bends over, it's not touching that there, okay? Also, use little precision tweezers, not your ceramic tweezers, once it's juiced, you can start pushing it out of the way. Cotton is very malleable stuff. It definitely takes instruction well once it has juice on it. All right, so trim this stuff down to size. It gets a little thick when it's packed like this, so I just use my wire cutters for it. Because there aren't any official wick holes like on the VCMT, use your best judgment. You know that it's got to go down into that hole. So just fold it over and see where it's going to end up. That'll give you a good indication of where to cut. It's not difficult, this part. It's not rocket surgery. Okay, one way that you can ensure that you're not going to contact, that the cotton isn't going to contact these airflow chimneys, the barrels here, is cut a little 45-degree off of here, or shave a little cotton down on the underside, like that, and then fold it over. If you cut 45 degrees off the top, like some of the techniques for the VCMT, a bunch of it's going to be sticking out. So cut it underneath here, so that way the top of the cotton can appropriately flap down and overlap, but underneath of it is trimmed to keep room off of the air hole here. So that's what we're going to do right now. For that, you definitely can either use your little scissors. I'm still going to stick with my wire cutters though. So all I do is lift up and I get a little grip of it and I snip and then I pull that out. And that's it. All we're really doing is thinning the underside down. You know, it doesn't have to be at a specific angle, it just needs to be a little thinner underneath than it does on top. That's it. And of course, this is only if you need to. If you don't like to pack these coils full of cotton, if you don't like a real thick pack, you probably won't have to do this. But if you wick the way I do, which is using a lot of cotton and really packing these coils tight, you're going to need to do that. It's just, that's just it. That is what it is. You'll have to do that. Okay, so now we go to putting the cotton in. This is going to be just like any RDA. Just put it down in there. With the VCMT, we had to worry about the flow ring, right? So we really don't right now. We already measured it up. We know that it's going to fit in there. We're good to go. Just pack it down. See how that cotton inside of there on the, well, my right, which I guess is your right too. On the right-hand side here is touching. When this gets juice on it, it's going to touch in there, and that is going to drip down in here. It happens every time. So what you want to do is juice it up a little bit. Start priming your coils now. Start burning off your cotton. Get everything ready to put the barrel on and fill it with juice. When you're done with that, scoot it off of the chimneys. And again with this, because the airflow is directly under your coil, drip the cotton, paint the coil. You don't want to drip on that coil and have it go down there. You're going to end up leaking. If you notch your cotton the way I do, this is where you would put those triangles in the airflow or in the air holes, just in case you do get a drip down in there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now, actually. All right, so that's pretty much done. For the time being, go ahead and leave these in if you put them in. If you didn't, keep an eye right there, because the next thing we're going to do is fill up the tank. And if it's going to leak, this is when it will leak. It's going to be pretty instant too. Within about 2 minutes, it's going to start leaking on you if it does leak on you. So go ahead and lock in the barrel. and twist it. When you do, keep in mind that twisting this opens or closes your juice flow, right? See it there? Opening and closing and opening and closing. All right, so open that to, or close that off to whatever you want. Doesn't matter. Just make sure that when you find the spot, take a look at the unlock marking, because you don't want that to be over your juice, or pardon me, you don't want that to be over the air hole, because that's when it can pop off on you, okay? Give it a pull just to make sure. Now inside here, here is the second way this thing can leak on you. That hole right there, that's where you're going to put your juice in. Be very careful not to start pumping air through that hole. If you get air inside of that hole, it's going to leak. Okay, so what I mean to say is you have your juice and everyone pops those air bubbles out of it, right? And the more air bubbles that come out, the more juice that goes up into it. Now let's say you fill it up and you take it out early and your dropper fills with air, and now you go in and you fill that hole up and you're dumping air inside of there. You're going to push juice into the tank and it's going to leak. Okay? So what I do is tip it on its side, close off, first close off the juice holes on it, tip it on its side, and then fill up a little bit. I go just underneath of where it says VCST. Just like on the VCMT, don't fill it up all the way unless you're positive that this is like the 10th time you've built on this, and the way you're doing it right now, it won't leak. Just fill up a little bit. Don't waste your juice. Don't make the mess. Cool. That's all I'm going to put in it for right now. Now I'm going to let it hang out. So the hole here at the top where you fill gets plugged up by the chuff. So once you put it in, that's why that thing is so damn long, it'll cover it up. Okay, so you are able to tip it upside down. You know, you can walk with it straight or point at things with it. It'll be fine. That's no problem. So leave it alone. This is advice that I've given to people when they build the VCMT. Because it had the condensation ring, they were calling that leaking when it's not leaking. That's just condensation. I would tell them, rebuild it the way that the video showed you. Leave these in here with juice in here. Come back the next day and see if these are wet. If they are, it's leaking. If they're not, it was condensation. 10 times out of 10, it was condensation. But if you're not sure, if this is the first time you're building on this RTA, just leave these in here. Go wash your hands because they're probably juicy and they have little cotton fibers on it. Before you go, open up your juice ring a little bit. Start letting some juice come in. You're going to start seeing air bubbles come out. That's okay. Just keep these in here. Right. Congratulations. You've just wicked it, and you're ready to enjoy it. That's all there is to it. If you find that you need more help with anything, you can either contact me through the comment section on the YouTube. A bunch of you did that for the VCMT. I responded immediately. Hopefully I can do the same. I'm pretty sure I will. Or you can always hit up Vaperz Cloud. Those guys are great too. But that's it. Successfully wicked. Again, this I said I was going to do 6 to 7 wrap around a 2.5. I ended up doing an 8 wrap. It fits perfectly. It's hotter, which is what I like. It's not going to leak on you anymore. and go ahead and fill it up. Just out of caution, I would not fill it up beyond that hole. Fill it up to just underneath of that hole. That's where you put the juice in, so that's where the juice is going to go out. Easy as that. Yeah, if there's anything I can help you guys out with, just put it in the comment section, and I'll get to it pretty quick.